Okay. Oh, hey, we're here.
All right. Hey,
Hi.
it's Lisa and Lauren. I'm actually in Northwest Arkansas, the home of Crystal Bridges, which is an amazing uh, community art museum for the masses. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm just looking so that if anybody pops in and leaves us a comment, I'm going to be able to see it. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Takes a minute, but I
No,
might just dive in to that. Here we go. So I am a parent of three, in case anyone has forgotten that. I know I've mentioned that a couple of times. And I am currently reading this book called The Yes Brain, which I will link to when we're, done with this conversation. And during chapter 2, it talks about the balanced yes brain. So it defines the yes brain, and it's basically about cultivating kids who have curiosity and resilience and all the things that we're hoping as parents to help our children with. And in chapter 2, they talk about a balanced brain, and what they're really talking about is having a balanced schedule for your child so that their brain can have time to process lots of stuff, the things they're learning and the emotions they're feeling and things like that. And so in the middle of the chapter, they started talking about one of the important aspects of a balanced brain, which is they call free play. And free play is when a child is allowed to sort of wander and be curious and use their imagination without any sort of fear of judgment or threat. And the reason they mention that is they talk about structured play, which is like when you're playing a sport and there are rules and there are winners and losers, and not that those are bad things to do. Those are good things for your child to do. That's also part of a good schedule. But the free play is unstructured. So there's no end that you're trying to get to. There's no real, like, it's all about the journey. Okay. So when I heard this, I was like, I stopped and I was like, Lisa, we got to talk about this, because I feel like this is exactly what we're trying to do for adults. Because it's really easy to get most kids to take an art break. It's difficult to get adults to take an art break. And I thought, well, it's play is such an important aspect for a child. Why can't it be an important aspect for an adult? And we know, Lisa and I know, that it is an important aspect for an adult. And so maybe we could talk about sort of that today. And so the question I came up with after reading this chapter and chatting with Lisa about it a little bit is, how does an art break, the art break that we're talking about at Art is Moving, help you remember how to play? So let's talk about that.
okay. It's a great question. Because this is so fascinating, because I love that. I know that things that we read are kind of like, you read them and you're like, oh my God, this is about Art is Moving. This is about our mission. This is about everybody should take an art break. And I love that we're kind of like always on, our radars are always open to knowing that we want to explain to everybody that taking an art break is really key for your well-being. So what I looked up some articles, and there's tons of science on how play is necessary for adults, and obviously necessary for kids, but equally for adults. But it said that the benefits are for play is it de-stresses, which we all need. It releases endorphins. It improves brain functionality, and it actually helps you grow your cortex, your cerebral cortex. If you think about that, I think a lot of times we think when we get older, our brains don't grow anymore. Do you know what I mean? And that's part of that, maybe that play shutting down. And it also stimulates creativity. But the state of being that play is, it's a sense of lightness and freedom. So that's
Yeah.
what it,
So, right. So okay. So you and I know that play is important, and we have all of these art breaks, right? We're in the midst of sending out daily art breaks for people. We send out monthly art breaks with postcards. We have art break celebrations. How do those art breaks that we're sort of prescribing, let's say, or suggesting or prompting, how do those help, do you think, sort of the adult population remember how to play?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we always say that, so you have to come at it with the no judgment, right? Taking an art break is about no judgment, and then also intentionality. Like,
Yeah.
I think those are the two key, and giving I mean, we talk about this too many times, giving yourself permission to be that inner child again, or to be that child. I think at a certain age, we all get so serious about life, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking
Hmm.
about because you know, when we were defining an art break, and you said to me the intention has to be there.
Hmm.
And I really thought about that. And I thought, well, like, why?
Hmm.
Why does the intention have to be there? And I think that that's really important for the adult population.
Hmm.
I think it comes naturally to children to wander and explore. And as we age and we sort of get sucked into this idea of what it means to be an adult, we lose, or we can have a tendency to lose that sense of wonder and curiosity, and the not knowing, and sort of being comfortable with the not knowing and the exploring. And so as an adult, you have to intentionally sort of seek it out.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, you have to set
mhm.
time in your day to do it, right?
Right, which I
Where,
think is so funny, because
right.
we were just talking about, I was laughing because I was thinking about that. Like, we're telling people to schedule unstructured
Uh-huh.
play.
Mhm.
And how does that make sense? And I
Right.
think that it's because you're an adult and you have to put that intention behind it. And the
Mm.
way I think an
Mhm.
art break, helps you remember how to play is that it gives you that. We constantly hear when we ask people, what does art mean to you? It means
Mhm.
freedom. I think it is one of those, art is one of those last things that exists where you truly can feel free, but you have to let yourself go.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difficult part about it when you are talking about adults taking an art break, and remembering that, like, play seems like it might be scary for adults, and that when you get to that point,
Hmm.
it's freeing. But
Right.
and so, like, I think our art breaks can help you remember how
Mhm.
important play is, because you can kind of slowly get back there if you're kind of scared of it, if you're scared of the not knowing, right? I mean, we grow up in a society that's like, you have to know the answers, or you're wrong, or you're
Right.
not smart, or you're not. And so, like, diving deep into a space of not knowing can be
Mhm.
scary,
Yeah.
right? But I feel like we offer art breaks that can, like, you can, like, dip your toe in, you
Yeah,
know.
I think I agree with you. And I think it's interesting. I think I'm reflecting on like how these words like play, it gets kind of like, oh, that's for children, or art, especially our art break art tables. Oh, that's for children, or our free art packets. And we're kind of always going, no, this is really for, it's really, we're actually really shooting for the adult. Of
Yeah,
course, we love for children to have the ability to just, work their magic. But I think it's interesting in like why do we at a certain age think play is, it becomes like it becomes in a box, right? Art
yeah,
becomes in a box, or whatever you think. And I think what we're suggesting is, or we know that when our definition of taking our break is actually pure liberation. You just take a piece of paper, just scribble, just draw, and then check out how you're feeling, or you take a walk in the woods and you notice all the colors. I mean, we want you to tap into that imaginative play zone that we all have. I mean, if you think, I always think about how creative, what was Albert Einstein said something about intuition and creativity is really the journey that we all should be going on, not the linear, you know, A to B, A to C.
right.
I think that's how he discovered all those amazing things in science, because he was really using imagination and play to get to these answers of the mysteries of life.
Yeah. Well, I was talking, so I was talking to my husband about how discoveries are made in science, right?
Yeah.
And he was saying that he feels like there's sort of three ways of doing it. There's the like research, like you know what
Mhm.
you know, and you dive deep into what you
Mhm.
know, and you
Yeah.
just keep diving deep into what you know. And
Yeah.
sometimes discoveries are made that way. And the other discovery is made by accident, the spontaneous discovery, right?
Mhm.
But then the place where most discoveries are made are when you take what you know and you go outside your box for just a
Yeah.
little, you stretch your box,
Mhm.
or you step across that line a little bit, and you sort of, rather than like digging a hole a mile deep, you kind of go an inch deep and you expand a little bit. And I think that's what art breaks help people do. I think art breaks open your mind. They don't have to open your mind to something that is completely the opposite of what you were thinking about. They can just stretch. You know how you like stretch your legs a little bit and they feel better and you can breathe deeper. And art break can help you do that with your brain and your emotions and things like that. And you can discover something that you're like, wow, I can't believe I hadn't thought about that before, just because you're living inside this box, right? Where you're just like, there are these rules that I have to follow. And that's
Right.
a normal thing, right? We have
Mhm.
routines, we have habits, and those aren't bad things. I'm
Mhm.
not arguing that those are bad things. I mean, for goodness sake, I'm telling you to schedule an art break in your life, because I know how life works. Schedules are magic, but you can also, right, schedule in spontaneity, which sounds weird, but you can, because you can do it on a piece of paper. You can be spontaneous on a piece of paper, or you can be spontaneous in your backyard. Go, and close your eyes for 5 minutes and try to hear something you've never heard before.
It
And
almost
I
seems
just,
like,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead. Oh, it almost seems like play and taking an art break, what I think are equal, right? Which they are equal. It's almost like it gives you room or space. It gives you space for
yeah, I think,
something. Yeah.
yeah, this is what I'm thinking. I'm
Yeah.
thinking that like it's, when you and I have been going through this process of in terms of language and definition, right? I
Mhm.
think when people think of play, right, they think of a kid like running around and wearing like a superhero cape and like being silly and along the way, somehow, for some reason, for some people, it doesn't go away for everybody, but for some people as they age, and I think it's like when you're aware that people are looking at you, and you're aware of outside
Mhm.
judgment,
Mhm.
you make a choice, and you make a choice to either hide that part of you and just like push it away. And some people, I think, still do that part of them in private, right? They just don't show it to the outside world,
Mhm.
or you
Okay.
shut it down completely, right?
Yeah.
And I think what an art break helps people do is, um, okay, you don't have to run around like that if you don't want to. I mean, I would argue you should, because
Right.
it
Right.
will it will
Mhm.
feel so goofy,
Mhm.
and so out of place, and it will, I promise you, it won't do anything bad, right? It could only do good things to just
Yeah.
uh pretend to be a 5-year-old for a minute. That
And
would
then
be kind of incredible,
I
right?
love it. And
But like an art break helps you go there without having to go to that extreme as a child, right? And so like I think it's the redefinition of play. That play as an adult doesn't have to look like play as a kid, but we're not talking about play where you go and you join your neighborhood soccer league. I mean, go do that.
mhm.
And that is a type of play, but we're talking about a different kind of play. We're talking about the play where you're not trying to win anything. You're not trying to get from A to B. You're like trying to just swoosh around for a little bit.
Yeah. I think, yeah, when you were speaking, I think, and I look at some people that I know when they become adults, and I know, I've known them as kids, but when they hit the apex and they become adults and then they go to college and then they start having a family, and you see it on them, like with that shift. Because if you've ever seen people, you grow up and then you see that shift when they kind of like they start having kids, and then it's almost like the weight of the world starts, really burden. It becomes a burden, right? I mean, you could see it in the way they're being. It's so what I think, it was interesting. It's like to take an art break is kind of for a moment in time just to lift that burden off. And I think a lot of times too, especially I feel that moms, it's all about the kids, you know what I mean? It's, they forget about the heaviness and the weightness of responsibility. And I think that's part of that why people don't play it, because that's part of it. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
It's this
I think you're right.
it's heavy. It feels like it's when I'm talking about it, it feels like you just have the weight of this world, and I have to be responsible. I have to take care of my kids. But so then it's almost like, no, because you're losing it. I mean, you're losing you know what I mean? You're losing
Oh
the
yeah.
growth for life. And
Yeah.
so it's almost like you kind of don't want to be a model like that for your kid either, that, oh yeah, I got to follow mom and dad when I turn 20
Mhm.
something, 30 something and have children. I have to be like, you know,
Yeah.
I feel that's it. And I think what we're trying to say is, hey, this is just it can be a cost-free solution for yourself.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
I love it. I love
mhm,
that. Yeah,
to
because
take an
it,
art break. Yeah.
right, right. It's right. And if you are a parent, try it with your kid, and
Yes.
it will be extremely magical. And I mean, and look at your child's face when you sit down with them to draw a picture with them, or even have a conversation with them about their own work,
Mhm.
or put on a play with them, or put on a play for them, or dance with them, you
I, lo-
know,
I'm
something.
gonna I
Yeah.
love when you were talking about, shared the chapter with me, and you're like, this is just what an art break is. This is what play is. This is what an art break. But I love, tell the story that you were walking home with your
Oh yeah.
youngest.
So
That's just like, it
yeah,
really embodies it.
yeah, it's so I'm like I'm a total fangirl of Dr. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryce, who wrote this book together. And so I've read a lot of their books, and I use a lot of their philosophy when I parent, which is basically it's you're kind of walking through the world with your child, and you are co-regulating, which is basically you are with your child to help them regulate their emotions until they're able to self-regulate, right? So I have a 2-year-old who definitely cannot self-regulate. Self-regulation, actually, if anybody wants to know, it doesn't really happen until you're 25. And so it takes a long time, and it's the one that starts the earliest. It starts in utero, and it doesn't happen fully until you're 25. And if you're not given any of the tools, I mean, good luck getting it by the time you're 25. So as a
Mm.
parent, it's really important for me. And it's also really important to validate my children's emotions, because I don't think we do that as a society. I think we're very afraid of emotions. Hence why I'm obsessed with art breaks, because it helps people.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I
Mhm.
was walking my 2 elementary age kids to school with my 2-year-old. And we don't normally do it. It's usually dad does it and then goes to work. And so it was the first time he had done it, and he thought he was going with them because, I mean, he's 2. And so he was walking home, and he was having a really hard time with it. And so I recognized that he was having an emotionally hard time. So I bent down, and I talked to him, and I said, how would you like to walk home? Would you like me to hold your hand to pick you up, after, of course, acknowledging that he was having a hard time? Or would you like to go 1, 2, 3, jump? And so he was like, 1, 2, 3, jump. Sounds great. And so rather than just have him do it, we did it together. And I felt like a total goofball. I was like, look at me, this 40-year-old lady, just like, because cars are driving by because it's school. And I'm like, 1, 2, 3, jump, and 1, 2, 3, jump. But once I let go of that, of the not caring and the being in the moment with my kid, I mean, the alternative would have been what most parents, and I can speak from my heart because this is the first thing that floods through your body, is your face is red, you're embarrassed, and you just want to pick your kid up, and you want to run away, because society judges emotions, and they categorize things as good and bad emotions, instead of being like, they're just being a human.
Right, right.
And I let go of that, and I focused on my kid. And we're better for it. We have a better relationship because of it. I felt better for it, and it helped him kind of go through the emotion of missing his brothers. But yeah, it was very freeing. It's yeah, I was laughing when I told Lisa, because it's like, you should be a goofball,
Yeah.
like That's what I love about my parents, is that they are goofballs. Like they've always been goofballs. They
Mine
have the
too.
ability to be that way, and I think you should show that to your children. And they joke about like embarrassing your kids to help
Right.
them deal with, get a rough shell or whatever. But it's really not forgetting that you're a kid at heart, and not even labeling it that, because it's not being a kid, it's being a human. And I think that's what it is like we categorize things. Oh, well, that's right. Like you were saying, well, art is, oh, well, that's for kids. And it's like, well, yeah, it's great for kids to do it, but an art break is just as beneficial, if not more, for an adult than a child, because a child actually has a lot of ways to get to that flow and stuff like that. They can get to the flow and the curiosity and the creativity that they're talking about, that we're constantly talking about, in so many ways. Adults don't have as many ways because of, I don't know, the pressure we put on ourselves as adults, society putting us in this box, right? So I think an art break is a really super easy, just like you were saying, way to just like break out of that box for a minute. You don't even have to do it in front of anyone else. If you're not ready to 1, 2, 3 jump in front of a row of cars of people, I get that, but you can do it on a piece of paper.
You know what
You
I
can do
love?
it in your living room.
You know what I love about that story? Because also that's the imaginal realm, the storytelling too, right? But it's like you taught your kid and you taught yourself at that moment, or retaught yourself, that because you were probably stressed out too. I'm sending my kids to school,
Yeah.
COVID. I mean, that's a whole nother story. So it's like you taught your child, your 2-year-old, and you retaught yourself that, oh my God, if I take an art break, tap into my play, it's also science in terms of like neural pathways are going, oh, so when I'm a little stressed out and I get goofy, I feel better. And your brain goes, oh, so next time I'm stressed out, you know what I mean? It's like, that's what happens. It's going, oh, next time, instead of going like, I'm stressed out, you react the same way and your body's just freaking out and your emotions are just freaking out. But what you're doing is you're retraining yourself, right? On some level, and then creating new pathways.
Yep.
So next time you're stressed out, maybe you do the 1, 2, 3 jump. And maybe your child, when he's 15 years old, will be like, oh my God, I have to take a test, but I'm going to do the 1, 2, 3 jump, and I got it. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the amazing thing about the brain. And they talk about that in the book too. And there's lots of books, read about the brain. The brain is an amazing thing, but the fact that it is a muscle, and you can retrain your brain. It's sort of like, it's not too late. Like if you're an adult and you're like, oh man, it's too late for me. And I think that also happens. I think that as an adult, we have a tendency to be like, oh, I could never,
right,
da, 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 da. And,
or it's too late. It's too late for me. Just like,
it's too late for me. And I just don't, it's not too late for anybody, and, those are powerful stories of when you decide to make a change and you go for it. I mean, I just think that I get frustrated because I think an art break is such an easy answer. And I do wish that more people realize that it is such a powerful tool to help you. And it doesn't have to be a piece of paper. And I know I keep saying a piece of paper and a pen. It's just, I feel like those are two things you could reach for right now. Right. And you could, like, if you are stressed, if you are one of those parents that's like, I'm sending my kids to school and I need to recognize the anxiety, the weight that is putting on me, because as parents, you have a tendency to try to shelter your own emotions because you're trying to protect your kids. Let me tell you, you're not protecting your kids, because your kids are so intuitive and they're going to know exactly how you feel. So find a way to feel those emotions and to get through them. And an art break can really help you with that. Is it going to have all the answers? Maybe not, but it sure is a good place to start. Write down how you're feeling, like do some, what my friend calls rage coloring. If you need to, just get a pen, like just get it out of your body and instead of trying to just push it down, right? That's the power of the art break, is that it will get it out of your body.
Yeah. And I think lastly, what I love what you said is it's human to play. it's not just for children. It's who we are as, and I think when you look at cats and dogs or puppies and they're playing, everybody's in joy. You're like, oh my God, it's so cute, and they're
Yeah.
they're just playing, right? And that's what we love about watching animals or children, because they're playing, and foster that within yourself. And also, it is human to create art. So it's almost like those two things, which basically taking an art break is playing art. So
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
it's
You
to
look
be
at
it's to
any
be who you
sport.
are, right?
Yes. And I love what about what they say about play in the Yes Brain book. And I think that it definitely is we're trying to do the same thing. It helps you. Let's see, let me see if I can get the right words. It says it's space and free time to discover the world and who you are. And that was the moment when I was like, yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what an art break is. It's giving you, and it's intentionally giving yourself the time and the space to learn more about the world through exploration and to really get to know yourself.
I love it.
Love
I'm
it.
convinced I'm going to take an art break right now.
I know. Well, you look like you're in a beautiful place to take one. So I'm gonna have to
I
go
am.
do some um running in the rain. It's raining here
Oh,
today.
that'll be fun.
We'll find
You
a
can
way.
sing in the rain.
There we go. Yeah, I'll do that.
Sing in the rain. All right.
Yeah.
Till next time.